another key Boston figure also changing jobs, longtime Globe film critic Ty Burr, who announced his departure in a final column over the weekend after nearly 2 decades and 3,000 movie reviews in the paper. In that time, he wrote, everything has changed. Popular culture and the broader culture surrounding it, the technology that brings us our entertainments, and the newspapers and magazines that cover them. I've changed too, and so it's time to move on. Though he's not moving on from movies altogether, he'll still put out reviews and recommendations in a new Substack newsletter called Ty Burr's Watch List. He joins me now. Ty Burr, great to see you. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So I have the list of your 3,000 movie reviews, and I'd like to go over them with you and see if
please. We've got time.
We got plenty of time. You know, I'm so fascinated by your change because so much has changed. Just can you talk to me and tell us what sort of the tipping point for you was to make this change?
Well, the tipping point was really the pandemic pushed me into it because there were no more movies in theaters, and I was reviewing everything through streaming links. But leading up to that, there was a sense that as the streaming platforms proliferated and everybody was watching shows and movies on their TVs, all that was kind of left in the theaters were the big blockbuster superhero movies, and at the art houses, these sort of dedicated audiences for those, for those movies. But more and more, those were starting to show up on Amazon, on Netflix, and other places, as a premiere. So the business was shifting, but the way, not just the Globe, everybody covers movies has not changed in really, not even the 20 years that I've been at the Globe, but even before. We still look at the theatrical premiere as the be-all and end-all, and that's when you write about it and then you forget about it. But that's not when majority of people, especially the majority of people over the age of 30, are coming to these movies. And they're looking at their Netflix queue and they're getting brain freeze because they don't know what's out there.
Right, and there's also so much out there. I know just my own viewing, the pandemic really brought into stark relief. I mean, I love going to the movie theaters. People keep teasing me how, some people were thrilled to be able to hug their family again after the pandemic. I cried during the opening credits of a movie because I was in the movie theater. That was when I got misty that I could finally return. But like my daughter doesn't care. She's 20. She doesn't care if she sees it in the theater. We didn't see The Heights because I wanted to wait to see it in the theater and she wanted to watch it on streaming, and then we missed the streaming opportunity and the movie opportunity. But it really brought into stark, relief to me how different the generations are in viewing movies now.
Yes, and to a great degree, I regret that because, as you say, nothing replaces the big screen experience, and not just the big screen and the sound, but experiencing it in a room full of strangers who are all having that same experience. Nothing can replace that. But technology do what technology do, so we're going to have to find a way to write around this. And what I do fear is that movies about people, actual people, are going to be just kind of going to streaming and the remaining art houses, and the multiplexes will be full of the big franchise blockbusters, which honestly, after 19 years, I'm less interested in writing about.
I can imagine. So I'm sure some people might be a little less interested in watching them too. Part of it started, I think, in the mainstream with The Irishman, right? The movie that was made both to be in the theaters, and it was like 500 hours long, and also you could watch it streaming, which also had a very different experience on how people experience the movie. How are directors and writers and producers, I imagine you're not the only person thinking things got to change and I might have to change. How are they reacting to this?
That's a really good question. I would argue that I like The Irishman. I think it's a very good movie, but it is ill-served by watching it at home where you can look at your phone and the doorbell's ringing and the microwave is dinging, and you need to be in the dark and focused on that movie for 3 hours for it to pay off at the end. And I think that filmmakers are going to have to learn how to address this new medium. There's a reason that throughout the pandemic, a lot of people have been drawn more to serial TV because you can get in there and do an hour or a half hour, or you can binge, and it's malleable. You can you have control of the viewing experience. I'll be very curious to see how I don't think the 2-hour film is going away. I still think it's a powerful format. You can say things there you can't say anywhere else. But it will be interesting to see how filmmakers tailor it to this new experience, and really how audiences come to it, because they have to adjust their attention span as well.
Ty, I want to talk to you a bit too about Substack, because I've been trying to explain Substack to people, and regularly I'll get to a point someone will say, wait a minute, it's just like a fanzine then that someone is publishing and you pay for it, or it's just a newsletter, which it's called a newsletter, but it's not really a newsletter. How would you explain what Substack is?
It essentially is a newsletter. It is a publishing platform for newsletters that also exists on the web, and that allows writers, publishers, journalists to own their own material, for one thing, and put it out when they want to and reach directly to an audience. I think that, so there's a lot of people out there who you could start a Substack newsletter. I'm starting it, hopefully, having a backlog of an audience there that will sort of pay attention and come along for the ride. But it's essentially an email with pictures and links that shows up in your inbox. In my case, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to get an email from me saying, here's a movie you could watch. It might be old, might be new, might be in theaters. More likely it'll be on streaming. And here's some good stories about it and some background that might make you laugh or think or something. I just put something up about today about the taking of Pelham 123, the Walter Matthau 1974 original, which allowed me to write about Walter Matthau, who is just a delight to write about. Sometimes I'll be writing about a movie that came out last year. It allows me a greater sense of freedom while still connecting, hopefully, to readers that are interested.
Does it give you the ability to contextualize things and to really bring attention to stuff that people might miss the first reading or the first watch? I mean, the way I like to use reviews is I like to watch a movie first and then read reviews about it to see if what I think I'm so smart about I actually saw, or to see and highlight things that I may have missed. Does this give you the opportunity to expand that?
Right. Absolutely. And that's a totally bona fide way to read reviews. Some people come to them before, some people come to them after. Some people read the first couple of paragraphs to find out what it's about and then come back later to, read the rest. But it does allow me to knit movies together from disparate eras. It allows me to make connections between films, between directors, between audiences and filmmakers, between themes. It allows me to kind of go wherever I want. And I had that ability in my Sunday column at the Globe, which was a great format. And I could wander into fields of politics and other areas, not just movies, TV, music. And I probably will still do some of that as well. But think of this as sort of a curated movie recommendation machine with a bit of an attitude.
Another news that came out of the Globe this weekend, Jack Thomas, longtime columnist, has announced that he has a terminal illness, and he wrote a wonderfully moving and exquisitely well-written column about considering this. I've been reading Jack Thomas since I was in 5th grade when I started reading the Globe daily. And it also seems and reminded us what columnists and the power columnists used to have in papers, which they do too to some degree, but it's a different time. What were your reflections about Jack Thomas?
Oh, it was an incredibly moving piece. I never knew him personally. I might have met him once or twice, but he was gone from the Globe before I arrived. But of course, like you, I've been reading him since I was a kid, and it's intensely moving to hear that voice for the last time taking stock. And you're right, the column is a powerful, powerful feature, and it still is. And I don't think it's ever going to go away. And the Globe has these incredible columnists who are all writing, and I was glad to be of that number, although it's sort of in my cultural wheelhouse. I do think Substack, a lot of writers are either starting a newsletter, Substack newsletter as a sideline, or quitting their jobs as I've done and tried to make be their whole, give it all their focus and make it really be their business. Is that going to replace columnists? I think it's going to chip away a bit at the format and at the standing of it. I don't know how that's going to play out over time, and I don't want it to reflect at all poorly on my Globe colleagues, who are some of the greatest writers I know.
Are you worried about not having an editor Folks may not know that when we write, we usually send it to an editor who helps us be better writers or better communicators, mostly, maybe 85% of the time. And some of the greatest editors really can elevate your writing. But you're going to kind of be out there on your own. Are you a little worried about that?
Well, actually, Substack is providing me with an editor on a limited basis, a freelancer who I'm working with already and who's a delight. He's a guy who's been in the business for, about as long as I have. And he gives it a once over and we talk. And so, it's not, I'm not jumping out of the plane entirely without a parachute. And it's important to have other eyes. It's always important to have other eyes on the stuff you write. So that's not quite going away, although, I've sort of trained myself to try and, catch any major bloopers before they get out the door over the 20 years. And of course, I still fail.
That's what makes it interesting. Ty, if folks want to find your Substack and subscribe to it, where can they find it?
You go into you type into your search field, Ty Burr's Watchlist, one word, .substack.com. Ty Burr's Watchlist.substack.com. You'll be able to subscribe to it for free. If you would like, you can subscribe you can have a paid subscription and you will be getting some more commentary, the ability to comment, and some other goodies that I'm still working on.
I look forward to reading more of your work. It's great to see you. Good luck to you, Ty Burr. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Take care.